Hi there, welcome to Terrorland Soap Opera. Today I'm going to do a reading for Scorpio energy. And like usual on this channel, we're going to do 2 rows. The top row I'll refer to as high vibe Scorpio energy. And the bottom row, a more worldly, shadowy Scorpio energy. Because we all have our dualistic nature of free will and we have to make decisions in our life. And some people could be struggling within themselves and even to make a decision of if they want to do life differently. Scorpio is emotional water sign energy. And in high vibe, it is about kind of exploring the mysteries of life emotionally and wanting to be in deep, meaningful relationships and motivated and inspired by love. But some people might love themselves or the world more than love or wanting to work together with people cooperatively. And it might be wondering how they can try to manipulate people to get people to do what they want. They might more be about just status and ego, and image might be more what they think will make them happy. Because if you do love, you could get hurt. And some people somewhere along the road decided that's too big of a risk. I'm going to make my life about these other things, and I'm sure that will make me happy. So sometimes we've ran into people that are like that, and you could feel some people in your life who are a little more shadowy. We all could have learned some lessons in life and driven our life off into the ditch at times, and now we temper our more shadow nature, can represent our more immature, fearful, insecure, codependent nature, and you kind of temper your ego and stand up to your more shadow nature to not let it run your life the way it used to let you run the way you used to let it run your life. Just like you could have people in your life that you could view as being kind of got some growing up to do. Some of those people in turn could have people in their life that they feel are more immature that need to grow up, right? So it's all kind of relative, and just listen to the story. We all tap into Scorpio energy. It kind of is the energy we can tap into when we're putting in work and effort to make something work. It's just that some people could be a little more superficial and shallow in their motivations, and it's just to listen to our intuition about who's who in our life. So let's start out with the top row. We have the main male, the moon, the courtship, the mature woman, the heart, and the tunnel card. And the reason these came out, because they split in the middle of the deck, we have 2 bottom cards, which is main, female, and cross. And so the way I read tarot, so you can apply it to everyone and just make sense to me, is that the masculine energies can represent how we're presenting ourselves in the world and action that we're taking in the world. When we go do things in the world, it is considered masculine energy, and people can present themselves any way they want to, but the feminine figures can talk about how they really think and feel. So whether people are male or female, some high vibe people listen to a higher truth and justice to drive and motivate the decisions they take in the world, and motivated and inspired by love, where before they might have been more caught up in the world. The reason for the bottom row's reading is the woman, but it's Taurus energy, and Taurus energy has to do with our philosophy of life, and it affects the decisions that we make in our life. And we all grow up in the world, so emotionally we were all more kind of caught up in ourselves and the things of the world, because we grow up in the world and we grow up in families, and there's all these things of the world that we're motivated and inspired by, that we want to go indulge in, that we're sure will make us happy, and we have all these lessons to learn, right? And so if we learn and are enlightened to the truth that love is what makes it all worthwhile, and I have the free will to align emotionally with my more worldly view of life, and that is what I work with, and that is what is most important, which can just be our more egoic nature. Or I've been enlightened to the truth that there's more to life than just being about myself or these things of the world, and that love makes it all worthwhile. Well, then in the main male, we've kind of, with the main male and the main female, we've gotten balanced within ourselves, and then we're taking action in the world to stand up for our truth. And before, we could have been more influenced by other people and the world to live our life a certain way, even though emotionally maybe it didn't align with our truth, but because we were emotionally motivated and inspired and attracted to certain things in the world, we went and took action on those things, right? And, life is about learning these lessons, helping us get clear about what our truth is, what our truth isn't. Again, Taurus energy is about our philosophy of life. And we come in contact with all these different people to help us get more clear about our truth. And as we get more clear about our truth, and hopefully in the moon card, which says Cancer, but in regular tarot it also can represent Pisces energy, hopefully we learn lessons about listening to our intuition. Because there's all these people in the world that have their way of viewing life and things they enjoy and things they make their life about. And of course, they want us to be in friendship and relationship with them, and they want us to the moon card can represent being caught up in the illusion. And also staying in relationships with people who create an illusion that they're more motivated and inspired by love than they really are. And they could really be more motivated by the ego or the image or indulgence or how they benefit, but not really love. And so then we learn to stand up for our intuition, and we're going to let our intuition guide us. And I think our intuition was given to us as a gift to help us navigate in the world, because some people do operate more from their ego, whether they're male or female, and the masculine energies, again, can represent the people are more operating from their ego. Doesn't mean they're a man, because we all have free will to operate more from our ego nature, but everyone can try to present themselves as being motivated and inspired by love. It's just that some people are just creating an illusion. And we need to listen to our intuition about if people are who they say they are. Taurus energy can represent that people have a certain status, image, stability, security, present themselves like a pillar of society. I'm not selfish, I'm not greedy, I'm not bossy, I'm not controlling, I'm not more about myself. But then you find out they are. And you kind of see through the illusion of who they are. And then you learn from that process to listen to your intuition and also stand up for your more, in Pisces Cancer energy, the other two water signs, to stand up for your more emotionally intuitive, loving nature, and not, can you know a lot of people in the world, be a loving, nurturing, supportive person to a lot of people in the world, and work together with people? Yeah. Am I going to get caught up in the illusion of who you are and get myself more emotionally invested in people? No, not until I find out more about the truth of what drives and motivates them. I have to stand up for my more authentic, loving nature because it's valuable. Courtship. I want to be in relationships, but I want to be in relationships with other people who are emotionally mature. Not people who want to create the illusion they're emotionally mature, or just want to be in a relationship to be in a relationship for some reason, or who just want for me to work for them or marry them, because the Queen of Pentacles can represent those things. I don't want to work for someone who's creating an illusion that they're more emotionally mature than they are, but they're really kind of stubborn or prideful or egotistical or manipulative. And I don't want to date or marry someone who's like that. Because the high vibe people have their more dualistic nature also, but they're aligned with their more intuitive, loving nature. And they've realized for their dreams to come into reality, they need to be in a relationship with other people who are in their free will. You're either kind of more tipped into being aligned with your more worldly, egoic, defensive, immature worldly nature, or you're more tipped in favor of being more aligned with your more loving, intuitive nature. And high vibe people are in that high vibe energy. They're standing up for their more high vibe nature. The other high vibe people in their life, they stand up and protect. And you could have people in your life that stand up and defend you. And then we have the heart and the tunnel, harnessing high vibe Libra, high vibe Capricorn energy. Love wants to give birth to something new. Our more shadowy nature wants us to keep repeating an old pattern. Like the devil doesn't want to give birth to anything new. And at the big picture, our shadow nature is kind of represented by the devil. All our fears and insecurities and self-limiting beliefs and staying in our comfort zone and doing things the way we've always done it. And our high vibe loving nature, represented by God at the big picture, wants us to give birth to something new. If none of us had ever given birth to anything new, we'd all be cave people today. But we do and have been given our intuition, our own unique talent, skills, and interests, our inspired nature. I'm kind of looking at the main male as kind of an Aries Taurus type energy, where I'm inspired in my philosophy of life to listen to my intuition, align with my more loving, hopeful, believing nature, realizing it takes work and effort to not kind of be seduced by my more worldly, egoic nature. And I've made a stand to stand up for my more loving, intuitive nature than being manipulated by my more worldly, egoic nature and other people who kind of have illusions about what it means to be in a relationship, or are more about wanting to be in a relationship for these reasons other than love. And I am balanced within myself, and I am ready to give birth to something new. You know, we go through life, we live life, we meet these different people. All of it helps us get more clear about what our truth is, what our truth isn't, who is more willing to emotionally invest in relationships, who isn't, who wants to get in relationships because they're looking for someone more to indulge them. Again, whether you're male or female, whether it's your adult child or your sibling or whoever, there are people in the world who try to create an illusion that they're motivated and inspired to be just and fair and authentic and loving and give birth to something new. Also, hoping you'll get and emotionally invest in the relationship, but they're just kind of creating an illusion in the relationship. They are aligned with their more worldly nature, and it might be because you look victorious and successful in some way, is what Capricorn energy can be. You could be an emotionally nurturing, loving person. You could have a lot of hope and faith and belief in love, and people like to be in relationships with people like that because you're a loving, nurturing, supportive person. And you're balanced. You're not being immature and manipulative and prideful and egotistical and all those kind of things. And you might look victorious and successful in some way. And some people just want to be in a relationship with people who have those traits, qualities, characteristics, or status or success in their life. But it's not really because of love. And it can take a long time being in relationships with people to realize the truth. And, you know, we do have a lot of things to work out in a relationship, to work through how we view life, things that we're looking for people that we're kind of more on the same page with. And you could be in a relationship with people for a long time and you don't even realize there's a problem. There could be some things that you kind of realize are a problem, but you keep having hope and faith and belief. It's more when you could be ready to kind of live your more authentic truth, because high vibe energy is about being more independent, shining your light in the world, no longer being manipulated as much by things that could have manipulated you before, because you could have gotten in relationships with people and you both could have been more inspired by the world. You know, again, looking at this as fire sign energy and the occupation card, kind of like the Eight of Pentacles, Virgo energy. Emotionally, initially we are kind of really caught up in these things of the world, and we're caught up in the illusion with the past life card under the moon. We've all been brought up in families and communities and states and countries to kind of view life a certain way, and if we do these certain things and kind of repeat these certain patterns, and that's the just and fair way to live life, and if those people were victorious and successful or seem to be happy, we should kind of do what they do. And so we kind of get caught up in the illusion because we're so influenced by people in our life that we've maybe grown up with, or the community that we were in, because all those people kind of live their life and have their viewpoints, and we know them and we could love them, and we kind of think they know better than us, and to a degree they could know better than us in some things. But the whole thing is, everybody can do things in the devil because of their fears and insecurities and self-limiting beliefs and past pain and heartbreak and how they were brought up, and their truth and things that manipulate them and why they made the decisions they made in their life isn't necessarily our truth. And with the bees card here, which is Virgo energy, each generation learns lessons. Our parents grew up with the people they grew up with. They viewed life a certain way, and life doesn't stay static. We all don't live in a time warp. We all can't keep living like it's the 1960s when it's not the 1960s. The world changes over time, and people come up with new things and new technologies, and we've got to learn to adapt to that. And some people can really, with the devil card, not like that, because they have this way of living life and they want to live life like that. And it's challenging because other people could have put in work and effort to work through their own fears and insecurities to harness their Virgo energy different. I used to view life a certain way, just like when I was 15 and when I was 18 and when I was 21 and when I was 25. I viewed life a certain way. I had a certain way of viewing myself, viewing others, viewing relationships. But as I went through those phases of life, and I kind of saw how other people lived their life and what they valued and what they didn't value and what was more important, what was less important, I kind of saw some people were living their life in a way that wasn't my truth. For a while, I could have been caught up in it. And that, can't even be when you're just young and dumb and reckless. And it's like, yeah, I'm going to do that too. But in high vibe energy, we have a dream of kind of growing up and growing to our full potential. And that some people have a way of living life, though, where no, this is the core foundation. And then the devil can be, I have this way of viewing life and friendships and relationships, or the workplace, where I should be able to, either I have fear of doing life differently, you should have fear of doing life differently, and then you should just keep moving forward in the relationship with me, doing things the way we've always done it. And at the end, we have the Tower card, where we don't give birth to something new. We let go of that foundation and we keep repeating this pattern. Or I have a way of being in a relationship that could be unhealthy or unjust or unfair or manipulative, or where it's more about me, or it's more about the world, because the devil can represent these things of the world, but it can also represent that people are trying to manipulate people, trying to control people. I know you love me. I know you want this dream to come into reality. I'm going to use that to try to manipulate you, to get you to not give birth to anything new, not be more independent, don't change, because I don't want to change. And ultimately, at the end here, we have the anchor, which, though it's in water, it does say, like the tunnel card, Capricorn energy, and expectation, where maybe emotionally they never want to. The Tower talks about kind of detaching from an old way of living life, viewing life. And some people have a certain way of viewing life and relationships, and they like that way of it being done. And they're looking for other people who maybe keep staying in relationship with them, hoping one day they'll change. Even though they could know that, the devil card looks just like the lover's card in typical tarot, like a Rider-Waite deck, except that the people in the devil's card have chains and shackles on them. That's not love, but some people think that's love, and some people think they're not really aligned with, they gave up aligning with their more high vibrational philosophy of life, of aligning with their more loving nature. And they could be people who emotionally are more invested in themselves and these things of the world and caught up in the illusion of the world. And they're kind of more in love with themselves or the world, an ego, an image, or indulgence or something. But they want to be in relationships with people. So they look like, I'm giving birth to new things too. Look, I got a job. Look, I have a friend. Look, I'm in a relationship. But they're kind of anchored in, which shadowy Capricorn is represented by the devil. They still have all these things that manipulate them. It could even be people they grew up with. It could be a friend group or a family group. That's my primary foundation that I look to for my sense of stability. And I don't want to harness high vibe Virgo energy, which is also about becoming more independent. I kind of have a codependent, toxic relationship with my friend group, my family, the world, and it really kind of manipulates me in the decisions I make in my life. And in order to high vibe Capricorn, which I view as like the King of Pentacles, it takes emotionally work and effort to free ourselves from these more worldly, egoic, defensive, more about ourselves, thinking it's just and fair to try to manipulate and control people in a relationship, or thinking it's okay to be more about yourself or bossy or controlling or self-protective and defensive, that I want to act like I do love, but I don't really want to do love. I get hurt doing love. And they haven't done the work to work through maybe some issues from our past. We'll all repeat certain patterns from our past until we work through them and see how it manipulates us. And then when we're kind of offer love to it, to work through it, but it does take time and effort to work through it emotionally, because we are emotionally complex people, that we all emotionally, whether we're male or female, could have worked with people in our life growing up, or people we dated when we were younger or whatever, that kind of were not who we thought they were going to be. And it really kind of got us, the devil can be a kind of got us in our ego. Some people are just kind of full of themselves, and they can't understand, if they create this certain illusion in the world, why don't certain people want to be in relationship with them? And they could always be trying to get people who in their mind could have a certain status about them, at least in their mind. Other people could say, why do you want to go out with that person? But if they have a way of being or certain traits or characteristics that remind them of people that they still have unresolved pain and heartbreak with, like we could grow up with people and we know people who are a little cool or distant, weren't very authentic or warm or loving, or they were more about themselves or whatever. Because we're still kind of in our ego about it, is what the devil can talk about. And we have that unresolved issue buried kind of deep within us emotionally. It kind of blocks us from giving birth to something new. So then I think we're kind of drawn and attracted to certain people, because if we aren't self-aware of it, that of what kind of manipulates us, we'll be drawn and attracted to certain people, because those are the people that will help us, kind of force us by being us being in a relationship with them, it forces us to confront some of those issues because they could repeat some of those same patterns and ways of being. And we didn't like it when people like that acted like that in the past. And we could put this work and effort to get them to love us and to change. And then we're trying to change the devil, right? And then we could start to think, why am I putting work and effort emotionally into trying to change someone who does have these kind of traits and characteristics? And I knew other people who were like that, and I could have been a child at the time. I could have been younger. Now that I'm more emotionally mature, or I'm able to be in a relationship with them or a marriage with them, I am sure that when I am able to be this loving, nurturing person to someone who's like that, they will quit being that type of person and they will choose love. Because we can always emotionally have that expectation that people who are kind of more shadowy will change and they'll choose love. Well, we get drawn and attracted to people who are like that, and the whole thing is they are like that because that is their philosophy of life. And that's what we kind of need to see the truth of. Everybody through life went through their life experiences, and they had the free will to make the decisions that they made to be a more hopeful, believing, authentic, warm, loving, just, fair, balanced person, or to not be. And they did the debate within themselves. Something's going on that causes me fear or insecurity or gets me in my ego. Am I going to invest in emotionally loving myself, getting balance within myself over that situation? And High Vibe Virgo is about seeing the truth, and the truth sets us free. And Virgo is kind of funny that the tunnel card is like being in a mountain, you know, and Virgo energy is about taking this time alone, and it can kind of be represented by going out into nature, hiding away and away within yourself, and kind of secluding yourself like you would in a cave. And then, well, anyway, to work through all those issues. And part of it is, why do those people act that way? I need to deal with the truth of it. Are they that way even if I'm not around? It's not necessarily me. You know, that just is their kind of character. You know, Taurus being about our philosophy of life is, you know, kind of, do we act with character and integrity? Are we more a little stubborn or prideful or full of ourselves? Or we're more materialistic or egotistical and more caught up in the world? And if they're more motivated and inspired by the world, and they have people in their life that want to be in a relationship with them, it's challenging because you have these different dreams. Pisces energy can talk about our dreams that we have. We have our own ways of being based on how we were brought up, and we view the world differently. And what we're driven and motivated could be differently. And I think when we're younger and we're children, we're all kind of motivated. Well, we do have our selfish nature also, but initially I think we're all more kind of motivated by love, and we don't understand why everybody isn't more loving and more just and more fair and more balanced. And it can be confusing. And we don't understand, you know, why they didn't invest in us and maybe weren't the mother or father or caregiver that they could have been. But again, it's to see that that's a free will choice. And I've had people going through these different life experiences, maybe over and over to different degrees, learning to stay away from certain people, giving other people the benefit of the doubt, working with them. And we can kind of see it replayed over and over that everybody is where they're at any given moment of time. And it's very hard to change people's philosophy of life. Yes, is offering people truth and love and encouragement the highest vibration that you can offer people? Yes. Does that mean you have to get in a more involved relationship with them? No. You offer people truth and love and encouragement. And then you have learned enough lessons in life that maybe I'm not going to get more emotionally anchored in. I'm not going to try to make someone get more balance within themselves. They have to make that free will choice themselves. And in the past, I could have gotten in a relationship with them when they were anchored into their philosophy of life, which could have been tipped more out of balance into being more defensive or more about the world or manipulative or ego or still in their past pain and heartbreak. And they haven't gotten and worked through those things to be more balanced within themselves. So I'm in a mismatched relationship. And kind of still what really could drive and motivate them still isn't to put work and effort to work through those things that stop them, until they see how their own philosophy of life and their way of viewing themselves, viewing others, viewing people that they're in relationship with, seeing how it's influenced by maybe their ego nature, other people in their life, how the world influences them, tempts them, whatever, that is going to keep being their philosophy of life. So high vibe people have learned I can wish people peace and love and joy. I can know a lot of people. I can work with a lot of different people of a lot of different ways of living life. Is that fine? Are they fine with me living my life the way I live it? And me with them living their life the way they live it? Yeah, we can all, to a degree, get along and hang out and work together and socialize together. Am I going to get in a more involved relationship with you? No, because the foundation you operate from is different than the foundation I operate from. What you value and what's important to you and things that affect you and the decisions that you make, those might not be things that at one time they could have. At one time I had some more of my own past pain and heartbreak, my own fears, my own insecurities, more caught up in the world, in my lust and my greed and my pride and my ego and my codependency. But I kind of worked through some of that. I quit expecting. I kind of working through that, kind of letting go of things of the past so they don't keep anchoring me, because I want to emotionally give birth to something new. And so I was motivated to work through those things that kind of emotionally manipulated me, and just how I can be more tempted in my ego nature, my worldly nature, my want for these things in the world. And when I let those things more be the driving factor in my decision making, then my maintaining balance within myself, loving myself, putting in work and effort to keep standing up for what I believe in. If I don't stand up for what I believe in, and kind of in high vibe Taurus, and I view the mature woman as the Queen of Pentacles, which I view as Taurus energy. If I don't stand up for myself and what I believe in, well, then I am going to kind of align with and invest more of my time, energy, and effort into people who aren't really on the same page as me. And then I can always hope that one day they'll change. And I've probably done that enough times. And I've seen, just like would be very hard to make me be a different type of person than I am. And we can't make people, if people are defensive and egotistical, self-indulgent, they are that way for a reason. They have justified it. I probably will not be able to change them being that kind of way. If they're more fearful and insecure, they have to do this work within themselves emotionally to emotionally detach from that. And that is what Scorpio energy is about. Scorpio is represented by the Death card, where these deep emotional attachments that we don't even realize, some things that have their hooks in us, like these ways of thinking. When did I start thinking that way? is that really my truth, or was it people and the world and these unspoken things and spoken things that make me kind of have certain viewpoints and view the world certain ways? But what is my experience and what is my truth? And do I keep living my life a certain way more because I'm afraid of living my more authentic life? Am I afraid of living my more authentic life because I'm afraid that some of the people in my life who I do want to be in a relationship with will be mad that I'm living my more authentic life? When are we willing to deal with the truth? And sometimes we don't want to deal with the truth because these things are kind of unspoken. And some people, they have hope and faith and belief that people in their life that they want to have maybe move forward with them in a more just and fair and balanced way, but they're not. But they're afraid of becoming more independent of them because they are more codependent on them, or they're afraid those people will be mad and like turn their back on them, and they're not ready to give birth to something new and be more independent and emotionally detach from them and like wish them peace. It's like, I don't try to control you and tell you how to live your life. So why do I let you kind of control me and tell me how to live my life? Because some of these people, they're adults or they're siblings, and it's like, well, this is how we live our life. And if you go live your life like that, well, you're kind of stepping out of my comfort zone and I'll be mad and you're not letting me control and manipulate you. And so then some of those people don't want to deal with the truth of it, that they have people in their life who control and manipulate them. And they could get in relationships with people who are more loving and encouraging and not trying to manipulate and control them. And then maybe they could have this divided loyalty where I want to still align with these people, but of course I can't be married to them or be in a relationship with them. Or for some reason they kind of meet some codependency issue on this side, but yet the other people might be more loving and encouraging and inspiring. And there gets to be where people have to make that choice. Who are the people in your life that you're more aligned with and want to invest in? Is it the people you're more loving and hopeful, believing nature, and the people in your life who are more authentic and loving and encouraging? Or do you align with your more worldly, fearful, or codependent, or materialistic, or whatever nature? And then you align with those people. And sometimes you can be in relationships or marriages for a long time, and some people, if some people are kind of codependent on some other people, you might not realize that, how codependent they kind of are on them and what an impact those people, or you might even know, it can be people, but you could interchange that they have fears and insecurities that you didn't really know about. And then you find out how those fears and insecurities manipulate them. You could substitute people and fears and insecurities with how much the world kind of manipulates people. Well, we're supposed to live our life like this, and we're supposed to do life like that, and this is the way I was brought up, and we're supposed to do these certain things on these certain times, and we're supposed to act like this, and blah, blah, blah. And, the whole thing is, more high vibe people in their life aren't as caught up in those things or ways of viewing life or people or the world, and they're ready to give birth to something new. And that's kind of when it can be really upsetting within people, because they do have this, you have to make choices in life. And sometimes it's like, well, I want it all. And it's kind of like, I want the good paying job, but I also want to go do things that cause me not to really be able to do my job. And I want to go indulge in things that aren't conducive to me moving forward in a more emotionally balanced way. But I like to view myself as an emotionally balanced, loving person. But yet I still have these things that manipulate me, that could make me do things that aren't conducive to moving forward in that way. And it's making me kind of think of cognitive dissonance when you kind of realize and you view yourself as a certain type of person, but your life seems to be going that direction. It's like, and part of it is because we didn't want, the tower is trying to get us to see the truth. You might view yourself a certain way, but you're kind of living your life this way. And it's like, yeah, but maybe I only do that on weekends. It's like, yeah, and it affects the other 5 days of your life or whatever. Or because you kind of are more about yourself, that isn't conducive to a relationship working out. Because you kind of don't want to put in work and effort, even though you might be in a relationship or a job, and you kind of think you can manipulate people to get them to keep letting you stay in the job without you really having to put in work and effort, and the same way in relationship. I think I got in it. Now I think those people can put in more of the work and effort and I can kind of coast by, you know, and it ends up being a tower moment because kind of the people that kind of keep giving into their more codependent nature, immature nature, fearful nature, letting these things manipulate them, other opportunities move on in their life. It's kind of like the knowledge of the tree of good and evil. You have all these seeds of possibility, but we have free will. Just like we went from age 15 to age 18 to age 21 to age 25. It was like, it was time for that seed to come up. We had to listen to our intuition, quit kind of being defiant, like, no, 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 I'm not ready to take on the responsibilities of an 18-year-old. I still am more about me, and I want to kind of indulge myself and repeat this pattern. But our intuition and probably loving, encouraging people in our life say, it's time for you to emotionally grow up and mature yourself, pick up your investment in that old way of being, kind of get more balance within yourself, have some hope and faith and belief in yourself, face your fears, and it's time to give birth to something new. And then we move to the next phase of life, and then we're proud of ourselves that, well, gee, I am kind of glad I moved out. I'm glad I went and got a job. I'm glad I learned how to drive. And then we keep going through those phases of life that when it's kind of our intuition is telling us when it's time for that next seed of self, kind of looking at my nesting dolls there, that, it's time where it becomes toxic and unhealthy when we keep trying to stay in an old environment that we've kind of learned everything we needed to learn there, and we've kind of outgrown it, and it's time to let go of some of those old ways of thinking and believing about ourselves and the world and all that stuff, to love and believe in ourselves, to free ourselves and work through how all of that kind of manipulates us. And some people, we can want to not be bold and brave and confident, because then we might have to just come out into the light a little bit more, be a little more confident within ourselves emotionally, and have some hope and faith and belief. And that is, that's how you keep moving forward. I have hope and faith and belief. Does that mean everything is going to work out the way I want? No, but I listen to my intuition. I know it does take emotionally growing and maturing myself and working through my inner conflict and my fears about kind of presenting myself in the world differently. Like if you go, well, at least I know with me, it was scary with my first couple jobs that I got, and it was really scary to think of going to another job. But now that you have more life experience on it, it's not as scary, because you know that the next people know that, all these things that you maybe don't know. And just from the simple things, they're going to teach you how to run their phone system and how to run their photocopier just so you can function in it. And then they're going to tell you all this other stuff. And if you are willing to put in the work and effort, and you maybe got your own, some background, some experience, some education, keep staying in that high vibe energy of being like emotionally nurturing and patient and loving with yourself. You can go get in your shadowy energy and your more self-defeatist and belittling and berating voice if you want. You got the free will. Which environment are you going to thrive best in if you're in loving and encouraging ways of being within yourself? Some people haven't learned to do that within themselves. Some people are more codependent. They're looking for someone else to play that role in their life. And that is how they view life and relationships. This is not my job for me to learn to love myself. I go get in relationships with people to love me. And then that's your job, to be loving and encouraging. But because they don't do that work within themselves, their own fears and insecurities and self-limiting beliefs keep kind of sabotaging relationships because they don't take responsibility within themselves. Aries energy is about the self. When are you going to stand up for yourself and believe that you are valuable and you deserve justice and fairness, and it does take work and effort, and it's not someone else's job? That would be like emotionally staying more like a codependent child in relationships, and you're looking for someone to play the role of your mom or your dad again in your life. But we're not children anymore. We are supposed to learn to be the loving, nurturing, encouraging person to ourselves. We are supposed to work through some of these issues ourselves. Is it good to have community and friendship? Yes. But some people never want to do that work. Oh no. No, I just keep having pile after rubble. And it just keeps happening, and I don't want to see the truth. Can't I get in a relationship with you and create an illusion? It'll make it look like I've changed. It'll look like I've healed. It'll look like I emotionally matured because I'm in a relationship with someone who's this nurturing, loving person. It's like, and that is their game plan all the time. They are more about indulging their more immature nature. Then they just try to create an illusion with people who are more emotionally mature, stable, grounded, and loving, so that they look like they're that type of person. And eventually, because they still have all these issues they don't deal with, it all comes crumbling down. And then they try to manipulate people in their life not to align with or to see the truth that the people that probably left were these loving, nurturing people. No, not them. No, it's me. You should want to be in a relationship with me. You should align with me. And I'm going to try to confuse you about the truth of things that happened in the past. And I'm going to use the love that you have for me to try to make you still view me as the just and fair and stable, balanced, loving one. And it happens over and over. And eventually, even some of the people in their life that repeatedly defended them, even eventually those people can't deny the truth anymore. You know? And some of those people might be going through it right now. Shadowy people have a way of living life that they want to repeat because it benefits them in some way. It keeps them safe. They don't have to be more authentic. They don't have to be more vulnerable. They don't have to be more loving. They might like being more bossy and controlling in relationships. They might be more materialistic or something. And that's what they want to keep investing in. Their more emotional, loving nature within them tries to get them to see the truth, but they have the free will and they keep ignoring it. No. And so they keep dismissing their more hopeful, believing, loving nature. And their more hopeful, believing, loving nature is like, well, then you're going to have to do that on your own. Because your more creative, inspired, intuitive, loving nature isn't going to work with you to try to manifest what you're trying to manifest. And so then they are having to work with kind of what they've been given, the bare minimum to work with, which can see why some people seem more emotionally shallow and superficial, because they're not connected in with their more emotionally creative, inspired, loving nature. They keep that aspect buried beneath the surface, and they only are on the surface, and they're anchored in emotionally in their more worldly view of life. And so it's just the minimum that they have to work with. Well, I do have emotional capability. I might not be deep, but I can use my emotions, I can use my sexuality, I can use my looks, I can use my charm, I can use my money, all these things to try to create an illusion that there's more to me than there really is. And I'm hoping when people see through the illusion, out of their own codependency or fear, they will keep staying in a relationship with me. And some people in their life realize, this is too big a job for me. There is way more going on here than I realized. And, you have some work to do within yourself. And so I wish you peace, but out of love for myself and standing up for my own loving nature, because you could feel they really don't want you to grow to your full potential because they want to stay in this comfort zone. And it's like, well, then I can't grow to my full potential and I can't live my authentic life. If you have these things that limit you, restrict you, confine you, imprison you, you want me to be imprisoned with you, but those aren't my issues. Those are your issues. So I'm going to go live my more authentic life. I wish you and everyone peace and love. And if you want to keep living your life like that, you keep living your life like that. But that's not my truth. So, what's coming up for some high vibe people? They stood up for themselves. Some people are standing up for themselves. Kind of doing the inner work to, and investing your time, energy, and effort in the people in your life who do treat you in a just and fair and balanced way, who are loving and encouraging of you. Do they have to live their life just like you live your life? No. You can know people that live their life completely differently, but you respect that everyone has the free will to live their life the way they want, and you offer them love and encouragement. You do you. That's not my idea of the dream life. That's not how I want to spend my time and energy, but, I'm going to do this. Like, hey, you do you. To each their own, but you can respect that people are different, and what you want to go invest your time, energy, and effort into, and how you view life can be different than how they view life. But can you treat each other and stand up for each other and treat each other in a just and fair way? Yes, because they're a loving and encouraging, just and fair person. Can we all be different age groups and we look at life completely differently? Yeah, but that's okay. You're just looking for people who let you live your truth. And the high vibe people are doing it from a place of love. They're not trying to manipulate and control other people. It's just that I'm at different ways of viewing life, maybe because of age or maturity, or I am at a different phase of life than you. And you just respect each other, that you live your life, I live my life. We're both trying to find people who are loving and encouraging and supportive. And we don't want to be around people who want to work with us and they have some issues that they haven't worked through that kind of make them toxic or controlling or immature or impulsive or reckless or something. And we've seen the truth of that. So we've moved on from it. And could be seeing the truth of some people currently, that aren't ready to move forward. Still want to kind of keep repeating an old pattern. What's coming up for the high vibe people that they might not see coming? Something to do with these three cards, and the reason is because of the Five of Pentacles, which is Taurus energy. So, the Five of Pentacles comes after the Four of Pentacles. The Four of Pentacles is Capricorn energy. We had a way of viewing life, a way of living life, people we were hanging out with, jobs and friendships and relationships that we had. And we had wanted those things to, we wanted everybody to maybe work through some of these issues to listen more to their intuition to heal and grow and get more balanced and be more hopeful and believing in love and in themselves and in others. And some of those people, they're not ready to do that yet. So, we've been there where other people moved on when we weren't more bold and brave or confident. And we wish them peace. And the Five of Pentacles is I saw the truth. I learned the lesson I was meant to learn from a phase of life. And now I'm detaching from that old phase of life to move forward in life differently. And I'm taking what I learned to move forward in life differently. And the way I interpret these cards not showing themselves is what some people don't know about you, because again, we meet all these people in the world. There could be people we work with, people in our family, people in our community that, we can tend to think other people think like we think. And so some of the more shadowy people could think that you are kind of someone who's more tempted like they are in lust and greed and pride and ego, or they view you as a loving person, but they think they can manipulate you, and they don't realize that when you kind of harness these energies in a more shadowy way, people in more shadowy energy could manipulate you. And you could have had your own lack mentality, or in your Taurus philosophy of life, you were just more caught up in the world. And so you were tempted more by those things of the world. But what some people don't know about you, some of the people who don't know you, and some of the people who used to know you, is that you're now harnessing these energies in a more high vibrational way. And it is kind of like peeling back layers of the onion of our more immature, shadowy nature. When we first start out in life, we can have a lot of immaturity and whatever, and we just remove one layer of it, but we are like a endless pit of our human natureness. And so as we move to the next phase of life, it's to shed another layer of our more fearful, codependent nature, because there's always going to be aspects within ourselves that try to stop us, because our shadow nature always exists, to stop us from loving and believing in ourselves. And we have to work through that next layer. Okay, we have the Ace of Cups, the Strength card, and the Knight of Wands. Previously you offered love and encouragement to people, but because you were kind of more immature, a Knight of Wands would be less mature than a Queen of Pentacles. In tarot, we have the pages, the Knights, the Kings, the Queens. You have emotionally grown up and matured yourself. And before, you would offer people love and encouragement, and you would have went and gotten in a relationship with them and moved forward with them in a relationship, a workplace, or a marriage. But now, you've tempered your more egoic nature to temper your more immature nature that kind of wants to go indulge in what it wants to go indulge in. And you're like, no, we've already done that before. And we know it doesn't have, it only kind of has more of these things of the world. But if we want true abundance in our life, it has to be a balance of both. And it has to, do we want stability and security and things like that? And people acting with some character and integrity, yes, but we also want it to be something we're motivated by, inspired by, that we love, and to be in a relationship with other people who are operating from a foundation of love. So we can have Taurus energy can kind of represent all these things of the world. I can have all the things of the world and I can feel left out in the cold and feel in lack, because if it's not inspired by love, I can have a job that pays me all sorts of money, but I hate it. But because I want the money, I keep working there. And it feels like I'm in a cave of darkness. It's like, I gotta go find a job that I like, because this is, I can't keep working at this job hoping things will change, and things never change, and or this just isn't aligned with my truth. And same way with some friendships or relationships or way of living life or things I used to indulge in that I thought were the answers. Like, we've already found out indulging in those things, because the devil is kind of like those things we can go indulge in to make ourselves feel better. Yeah, it didn't work out. We've done that before. It didn't work out. So our more tempered, emotionally mature nature tempers our more immature nature. We've already been there and done that. Now, my more hopeful, believing, loving nature is kind of in the driver's seat of my life. I temper my more fearful, insecure nature like I would a child, and I tell it I am going to stand up to get us the things that we want in the world, but we are going to go about it walking the talk, high vibe Taurus. We are going to be the emotionally mature, balanced, just, fair, authentic, loving people to be in alignment with the people that we kind of want to be in relationship with. I can't keep indulging more immature people waiting for them to change. I've already found out, everybody has their truth. I need to go find people that are on the same truth as me. And if I've seen some other people aren't who they said they were, I need to work through that to emotionally detach from them. And I'm ready to go give birth. And the Ace of Cups, too, is like, I'm ready to have this new beginning and move forward in my life. And I think as you move forward in that energy, there's other people seeing you move forward in that energy. They could definitely be attracted to you, and some of them think, oh, I bet I can manipulate them, or I want to be the next person to manipulate them. And what they don't know about you is you've already worked with people who are like that. You've already seen the truth about people like that. You're intuitive that there could be some people in your environment that would maybe like to be in a relationship with you or in your workplace who are more deceptive and manipulative, and even if they don't, not a relationship, but you just know they're kind of more try to get people up in their ego and competitive nature, whatever, and you just see the truth of it and you keep moving on. It's like, yeah, I don't need you to like me. I don't need you to want to be my friend, because I can see how you are and I don't want to hang out with you anymore. Then I have to. I don't, because shadowy energy can be where you're kind of in your ego again, like, why don't they like me, and why don't they want to be my friend, and why are they being rude, and whatever. It's like, you know what, when people show me they're that type of person who even acts like that, and they're not more just and fair and authentic and loving, I don't want to spend any more time with you anyway. And I'm going to keep aligning with the people who do seem to be more balanced and just and fair and less manipulative, less unkind or bossy or controlling. And you just wish them love, that that they're kind of at a phase of life that you've been at before. And, even if some of them are people that you could be attracted to, you're tempering yourself, because until they work through these issues within themselves, and, I'm not going to. I believe walking the talk is the best path. Acting with character and integrity. Standing up for myself and truth and love. I don't have to tell other people what I think of them. There's no point. If they don't see the truth of themselves, why would I waste my energy trying to tell people, I think you're bossy, and I think you're controlling, and I think you're manipulative? They know that. They probably don't like that you know that. And that you're not feeling left out in the cold and they can't manipulate you. Okay, what's coming up for the more shadowy people that they don't see coming? Well, we have the Ten of Swords, Karma, Four of Pentacles, the Queen of Cups, the Page of Swords, the King of Swords. Why? Because of the Nine of Swords. So, the 8, the 9, and the 10 of Swords is Gemini energy, which is about our free will and what our truth is. Instead of completing a cycle, the shadowy people are all kind of up in their head, either in fear and insecurity, defensiveness, They could be emotionally self-protective of their either their immature nature, and they think it's just and fair to be more immature. They could try to present themselves as a king of swords, but really they indulge their more immature nature, and they just try to present themselves in the world as like harnessing high vibe Libra energy, that they're a more just and fair person than they really are. And the high vibe people do harness, like high vibe Aries, Pisces, Cancer, Taurus, Libra, Capricorn, Leo, Sagittarius. And other people like to create the illusion they're that type of person, but they're more emotionally invested in either being bossy and controlling or aligning with their more self-protective, defensive nature. And so instead of learning the lesson, seeing the truth, that it's supposed to be about love, and love is supposed to be just and fair. And love is us loving ourselves, not looking for someone else to love us. We are supposed to love us. That's step one. So then we can be loving to other people, like we are balanced within ourselves. But people who could operate more from their ego, well, no, I'm supposed to operate more from my ego nature. You're someone who's more aligned with your loving nature. That's just and fair. That's a match. And it's like, no, I am supposed to get balance within myself. I have my dualistic nature. I need to take responsibility for it, love myself, offset my fearful, insecure nature with my loving nature, so that I really am who I say I am in the world. You try to go present yourself as this just and fair and balanced person, but you're way tipped out of balance. You are all about yourself in some regard, because you don't think you have to do love. Well, then you shouldn't try to get in relationships with people who are loving. You should go get in a relationship with someone who's more like yourself. And they don't like it when other people end relationships with them. They don't like it when other people love themselves enough to work through these issues that manipulate them to free themselves. Because they never do. Because again, they could have these people in their life, they're more immature, more emotionally invested in world nature, and other people in their life that they're kind of codependent on. And judgment always goes with them choosing to align with their more shadowy nature, and then they end up in relationships with more and aligning with the more shadowy people. And they're like, well, yeah, but I want to align with that and them, and then you're supposed to love me. And you're supposed to give up your dreams and hope that I'll change. That's what all of us do. We all can be in relationships with people who are hoping one day we'll change. And it's like, well, I'm not doing that. And again, it keeps happening. If they keep trying to get in a relationship with people who don't view life the way they view it, and they try to create an illusion that there's something they're not, they might have some people right now that are done being stressed out about it. Is this person ever going to choose love? I've been loving, I've been telling my truth, I've been being just and fair. They keep holding back from me. And eventually the high vibe people in their life are like, I'm done. Karma, judgment card. You keep thinking it's just, if that's what makes you comfortable, because they offer love to it. If this is your comfort zone, I can't live my life like that. So out of love for my own inner child nature and justice, I'm going to wish you peace and love, but I'm going to stand up for my truth. And my truth is different than your truth. What I, in my Gemini nature of free will, align with is different than what you align with. You kind of don't want to move forward in life any differently. You don't want to see the truth of some things that sabotage you and manipulate you. And it could be your fear and your insecurity and your pride and your ego, or your self-indulgent nature. And as high vibe people leave their life, there's always other people in the world that are more like them, that would like to be in a relationship with them. Yeah, I had people who wanted me. This is a person talking, and I view the Queen of Cups as Scorpio. I had people who were truthful and just and fair and loving who wanted me to move forward with them. But then I had to get more balance within myself. And I don't want to get more balanced. And, we can all be at that phase of life where we are more imbalanced, and it is kind of our philosophy of life. Like, oh, I am this loving, nurturing person. I'm going to go get in a relationship with this person who's not very loving. I'm going to change them. And they could have someone new come in their life and repeat the pattern. But eventually they might end up getting in a relationship with someone who is more like them, who also is more emotionally invested in the world. And for some people who think that, oh, if I just have more of those things of the world, if I have a certain status or image, who needs to do love? You should make your life about the world, and I'll have this status and this image and all these things of the world that I thought would make me happy. And then maybe it takes for people kind of, sometimes we do go to the edge in life, and we kind of go too far. We get, look at all those things that we can indulge in the world instead of loving ourselves to make ourselves feel better, right? And people can kind of get caught up in like addictions and really can drag your life down into hell. Well, for some people, ego and image and money and materialism, or it having to be more all about them, is like the addiction in their life. And I think because they know that's their truth, and they know they create illusion in relationships to get people to get in relationship with them, I think when they get in relationships, they're always really fearful that other people are trying to manipulate them, because they know they aren't being authentic. So then they think other people aren't being authentic. And the loving people that have been in their life, they sabotage that relationship, because Scorpio can be, again, trying to figure out what people have hidden. And for some people, just listening to their intuition and seeing how people live their life and how people treat them, that's not enough. I know they've got something hidden in there. And it can be, I don't believe that they would really love me. I know they're trying to manipulate me for some reason. And so then they can go put in a lot of work and effort to try to figure out what's hidden, which they have no business, kind of like invading people's privacy, to find out more about what those people think and what those people are doing. And it sabotages relationships because they kind of hold back from loving themselves. Then they hold back from loving people in their life. Then they could wonder maybe what those people would do if they hold back from being loving to them. They're sure those people are out for their own best interests and they're being selfish and manipulative. And it could just be really fearful and insecure people who don't just kind of go with the flow, listen to their intuition and love, because they get so caught up in their fear and insecurity, maybe because of other people in their life and how other people have acted. And until they work through that and are more confident within themselves to believe that people would want to be in a relationship with them, they're going to keep sabotaging themselves. And while they keep doing that, keep being fearful, keep trying to manipulate people, keep trying to control people, other people have moved on and having new, authentic, inspiring, loving beginnings. And they've moved on to the next phase of life. And then these people are stressed because they couldn't manipulate and control someone. Now they got to go find someone else to go try to get in a relationship. Go find someone else who maybe something didn't work out. Those people experienced a tower moment. could be up in their head, and they'll go present themselves as this just and fair and loving person and create this illusion again about who they are. And odds are, unless that person is more willing to stay indulging them in their shadowy ways, or if it is more about the ego and image and that's what's most important to them, they'll stay in it. But I think the whole time they're in it, they could either not want to be in it because it isn't based on love. It's all these other reasons of why they stay in it. Or they'll always be stressed out that the other person is going to see through the illusion and heal and move on. How about you invest truth and love and are loving and encouraging to people, and maybe they'd want to stay. But, oh well. There you go, Scorpio. I wish you peace, love, and joy, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.